are together in a broadcast, and yet we do not necessarily share the same vision. This is part of the essence of things. Each of us has different perspectives, and this plurality of opinions is extremely valuable. It is essential to recognize that the figure in question is often seen more positively than many might think. Recently, he mentioned that the 49ers should consider a trade for Brock Purdy if he seeks a contract above $50 million annually. Imagine if we were live at that very moment and suddenly he proclaimed that the Niners should trade Brock Purdy based on this idea. Surely there are fans in the Niners community who support this proposal, although I believe a larger number do not agree with it. What is your opinion on this bold suggestion that if negotiations do not progress, a trade should be considered? Personally, I do not share this view. I'm convinced that the market value for a quarterback ranked among the top 10 is in fact higher than $50 million annually. If someone says that Purdy is not at that level, I would argue that he is very close between the 10th and our 13th position. He has played for less than $1 million each season in the league so far, and in his view, is simply trying to recover what he lost in salary. Let's analyze the case of Jalen Hurts. Is he an exceptional passer? Not. Exactly. But he is remarkable for being a multi-threat player, demonstrating strength, good decision-making, and the ability to shine in decisive moments. In fact, in 2 Super Bowls against a prominent defensive coordinator, he accumulated nearly 7. 100 yards and threw for 7 touchdowns, surpassing a widely known quarterback in both games. However, Jalen Hurts' contract is $51 million per year. It is interesting to consider the various players the Philadelphia Eagles are compensating, including key athletes for the team, 700 yards and 7 touchdowns. And he outperformed Patrick Mahomes in both games, but Jalen Hurts' contract is $51 million annually. Think of all the players the Philadelphia Eagles are compensating, like A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson, Lane Johnson, soon Cam Jurgen, Saquon Barkley, and Dallas Goedert, who is among the 5 highest paid tight ends. Is it feasible to pay a quarterback more than $50 million and still compensate other players, strengthening the team under these conditions? It is crucial to get the draft choices right to help build depth and enhance the starting lineup. The Philadelphia Eagles have been able to do this, while the San Francisco 49ers have made several mistakes. Brock Purdy, in his time as the starting quarterback, has posted numbers among the top 10 and has stood out as one of the most efficient in the league. There's no problem in needing talent around him to succeed. Some of the great quarterbacks in NFL history also had complementary players and good coaching to win important games and achieve titles. It's as if by winning the Super Bowl, the team becomes a symbol of excellence. Purdy played at a level that justifies a salary above $50 million, but he was also the best deal in the NFL in his first 3 years. I wouldn't consider a trade, as what would the alternative be? If you find yourself in a quarterback limbo, you could face serious issues in the league. Purdy provides the possibility of winning week after week and has shown that it is feasible to achieve great victories with him by your side. Do you have a player in the 3rd round that excites you? In the 3rd round at any position, identify a prospect you found and thought, hey, I really like this guy. I really like the offensive lineman from William & Mary, Charles Grant. I believe he will be an excellent player, possibly selected in the 2nd round, but he's one of those who's on the line between the 2nd and 3rd rounds. Braden Swinson, the defensive player from LSU, is a great player whom I think will stand out. I like Teddy Buchanan, the linebacker from California, and admire the athleticism he brings to the game. Additionally, this running back class is quite rich, and I know the coach might get carried away and decide to select a running back in the 3rd round. I view Teddy Buchanan, the linebacker from Cal, as a remarkable talent with considerable potential. His on-field athletic ability is striking. This class of running backs is particularly robust, and there may be a temptation for the team to opt for a running back in the 3rd round once more. Nonetheless, if the strategy leans towards waiting until the 3rd day, there are excellent alternatives to consider. Players such as Ali Gordon and Damon Martinez come to mind. There is intrigue regarding whether Caleb Johnson might fall or if Cam Scatterboo will experience a slight drop to the 4th round following a less than stellar performance at his pro day. These athletes could serve as strong candidates during the late second and third days. Jake Major, the center hailing from Texas, appears to be a potential selection in the 7th round who could integrate well into the system and provide competition for the current center. These are merely a few names that cross my mind, even without a list at hand, as access to the usual recording area is limited. Another player to consider is Darius Alexander, a defensive tackle from Toledo. At 24 years old, he appears to be a solid match for the team's needs. Is there anyone who should be entirely avoided? Personally, I tend to focus on players of interest rather than those who do not catch attention, as little time is dedicated to analyzing less favored players. That said, there isn't a great deal of excitement surrounding Kelvin Banks, despite his honors like the Outland Trophy and the Lombardi Award. While some players receive appreciation, the same level of enthusiasm does not extend to Banks. It seems more prudent to hold off on selecting a tackle and to think about someone like Aranti Ursary instead. Anthony Belton, coming from an outside zone approach at NC State, might also emerge as a preferable option in the 3rd round rather than choosing Kelvin Banks at the 11th pick. Furthermore, Tate Ratledge, the guard from Georgia, is acknowledged as a strong asset. However, it's wise to steer clear of Shamar Stewart for the previously mentioned reasons. Despite his impressive athleticism, concerns about his overall fit remain. There's an interesting prospect, Kelvin Banks, who may be up for selection at the 11th pick, while Tate Ratledge, the guard from Georgia, is another well-regarded player whose skills truly shine. Nevertheless, it's wise to advise against Shamar Stewart for the reasons already discussed. It is clear that he possesses exceptional athletic capabilities and impressive testing results. He performed admirably in the 40-yard dash, and his pressure metrics are noteworthy. However, with such athleticism, questions arise as to why he has recorded only 1.5 sacks in the last 3 years, despite nearly 700 pass rush attempts. And the concerning tally of missed tackles raises significant concerns. For Kelvin Banks, there is uncertainty about his best position, whether as a tackle or guard, although there is a belief in his potential as a tackle. The concern regarding Banks stems from his size, which often causes him to fall to the ground. Instead of opting for a player like Banks at the 11th pick, the preference would be for Ursary in the 2nd round, Charles Grant in the 3rd round, or Anthony Belton in the 3rd or 4th round. The valuation and potential of these players are seen as more attractive. Selecting Banks at the 11th position could result in missing out on a high-quality edge rusher or a strong defensive tackle. Reflecting on past evaluations, there is a pattern where losses occur with players who are highly rated coming out of high school, often with the expectation that they would become stars. These athletes often come from dominant Power 5 programs and may show satisfactory but not exceptional performances. Their rankings are often boosted by physical metrics rather than true on-field production. It's crucial to remember that not all players from Alabama, LSU, or even Georgia are destined for success. 2 athletes in this draft are believed to have inflated values due to their environments and the programs they represent. One of these athletes is Jack Sawyer. While there was initial excitement around Jack Sawyer, it is hard to ignore how stiff he looks on the field, weighing in at 260 pounds. His motor is admirable, and he had a solid performance with the Buckeyes. But when making a choice between the two, JT's production needs to be considered. A player who initially caught my attention was Jack Sawyer, but after watching his games, I see that his style of play is quite stiff. At 2 meters and 60, I admire his effort, and his performance was satisfactory for the team. However, if I had to choose between him and another player, JT Tuolagi's performance in the playoffs, along with his more robust physique, would lead me to opt for Tuolagi over Sawyer. I consider Sawyer to be slightly overrated. Miguel Williams, who was considered a 5-star player and had committed to a university, changed his mind after Clay Helton's departure. He is from Columbus, Georgia, and had an acceptable performance at times, but his appearance is impressive, standing at 1 meter 95 with 100 kilos of well-defined muscle. However, his 40-yard time was 4.77, and his production was not particularly remarkable. Watching games from the University of Georgia, which I follow weekly with enthusiasm, I see much more of Jalen Walker and Malachi Starks than I do of Miguel Williams, who is barely noticed. If I had to make a choice, I would place Williams as a second-round option and Sawyer as a day 3 choice. Both seem to be promoted due to their teams and the context in which they play. There are rumors that the San Francisco team should select him at the 11th pick, but I'm quite confident that this will not happen. Williams decided not to declare for the draft, and in my view, if you are thinking about the 11th pick, you should sign up. The only reason not to do so is if your agent indicates that the expectation is for the pick to occur in the 20s and you don't want to spend hours waiting. Jackson Dart and Miguel Williams also confirmed they will not enter the draft, while the University of Kentucky cornerback Harrison has stated that he will. I believe all of them made this decision for similar reasons. Harrison is expected to be selected between the 20th and 25th positions in the draft, and he wants to be present at the event, while Dart and Williams might have received information that led to their decision. Harrison, the cornerback from Kentucky, is expected to be selected in the first round of the draft, likely between the 20th and 25th pick. He is eager to participate, and it seems Dart and Williams might have received indications about being chosen late in the first round or perhaps not selected, which makes them cautious. Some of these cornerbacks, as already mentioned, show impressive mobility. For example, Jada Barron has notable speed, Maxwell Harrison is fast, and Trey Amos also demonstrates extraordinary agility. There are a significant number of talented cornerbacks in this draft class. Jacob Parrish's mentality on the field, coming from Kansas State University, is particularly captivating. He has a 40-yard time of 4.3, which raises some concerns for me regarding Will Johnson's fit with the Niners at the 11th pick. Although he has the ability to make impactful plays and shows good ball skills, often returning interceptions for touchdowns, he stands out best when he can read the game from a position off the ball. However, he struggles with his recovery speed and has been hampered by lower body injuries. Listening to discussions between analysts reminded me of ESPN's golden age, when the network featured exceptional talents, and it was noted that there are concerns about Will Johnson's 40-yard times, suggesting he may be running in the 4-second 6/10 range, which is quite concerning for a player of his level. After the experience with another player, I'm no longer satisfied with just the speed. I want to see the real times. The truth is, players with jumping, running, and lifting skills generally stand out, and if someone avoids a specific test, it is likely because they cannot meet the expectations. So far, Johnson has not participated in any pre-draft activities, which leads me to prefer Barron over him if the Niners decide to select a cornerback at the 11th position. Additionally, Barron is recognized as the best zone corner in this draft. And since Kyle Shanahan took over as head coach, the Niners have excelled in zone coverage and defense, making Barron an attractive option. Given his athleticism, I would nearly favor choosing Barron if the Niners opt for a cornerback at the 11th selection rather than Will Johnson. The notable aspect of Barron is that he stands out as the leading zone corner in this draft class. Since the head coach assumed his role, the Niners have excelled in zone defense, and Barron fits into that scheme exceptionally well. He is an outstanding athlete, and Texas has deployed him in diverse capacities on the field. He demonstrated remarkable leadership for the team and meshes nicely with the system, allowing Diamador Lenore to play inside, where he thrives as a nickel corner. With Barron, Lenore, and Renardo Green, a solid young cornerback trio is formed. While we may have diverged from the main topic, these are some draft reflections that have emerged throughout this conversation. It appears that the initial question has somewhat faded away, but that's often the case when discussing drafts and prospects. Digressions tend to occur. There seems to be a more favorable outlook on Sawyer than what some might believe. Even though he may not be particularly nimble or flexible, his hand strength is remarkable, and there's a strong appreciation for his relentless drive. Overall power, productivity, availability, focus, and work ethic. Concerns were raised about Trent Cole and Max Crosby during their pre-draft assessments for similar reasons, and both ended up being picked in the 5th round. It's notable that Crosby was selected more recently than Cole, but Jack Sawyer is viewed as a player with a similar profile. Interestingly, information from team sources and NFL News suggested that several scouts were present in Georgia today. Jalen Walker and Mule Williams had a final chance to exhibit their skills ahead of the draft next week, participating in individual workouts and engaging with various team scouts. Should both players be available at the 11th selection, preference may lean toward Jalen Walker. His ability to bolster the pass rush while also contributing as an off-ball linebacker is truly remarkable. His athletic build is undeniably attractive, and discussions have emerged regarding how his upbringing as a coach's son enhances his leadership qualities within the Georgia program. The capacity as a player who can significantly impact the pass rush and also serve as an off-ball linebacker is truly noteworthy. The athleticism and physique are certainly impressive. Earlier discussions emphasized the advantage of being a coach's son, highlighting exceptional leadership within the Georgia program. While his production was evident, there were concerns regarding Myles Williams, as many attribute his limited output to an ankle injury he dealt with throughout the previous season. He possesses explosive speed and is a capable athlete, yet there's a strong belief that Jalen Walker is the better player. The versatility he offers is highly valued, whereas Williams appears to be more one-dimensional. Jalen Walker is highly regarded and recognized as one of the top prospects in this draft class. While some speculate he may not meet expectations, there have been opportunities to interview Howie while covering the Eagles. Yes, there have been numerous discussions with Howie. The ties with the team are recognized given the relationships and connections to Georgia, as the Eagles have significantly invested in players from that program. Considering a Georgia player for the Eagles at the conclusion of the first round brings to mind names like James Pierce and other impressive prospects. It raises questions about the Eagles' potential moves at that stage of the draft and their relationship with Georgia. The tendency toward that program is striking. A pivotal moment may have occurred when the Eagles chose Jalen Reagor from TCU, bypassing Justin Jefferson. It appears that there was a realization that the focus needed to shift to acquiring the best players from the top programs, those who compete at the highest levels. Following the selection of Jalen Reagor, Devontae Smith was picked, starting a trend of drafting Georgia players. There is a consensus that Georgia is recognized as a premier program, producing elite athletes and football players who compete against the toughest competition in college football. And this approach has proven to be highly successful. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to 49ers Zone and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the San Francisco 49ers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. The San Francisco 49ers have made headlines once again, and this time, it's not just about football. It's about a celebration. Star pass rusher Myles Garrett has officially arrived in the Bay Area, and the reception was nothing short of spectacular. Greeted with cheers, music, and a sea of red and gold, Garrett's entrance to the 49ers headquarters turned into a festive event that mirrored the excitement of an NFC championship celebration. Fans gathered outside Levi's Stadium as the team rolled out the red carpet, literally, for one of the NFL's most dominant defenders. Garrett, who spent his entire career with the Cleveland Browns before this blockbuster move, looked visibly moved by the reception. Wearing a custom 49ers varsity jacket and a wide grin, he posed for photos with fans, signed autographs, and even joined in on chants led by the crowd. Inside the facility, staff members lined up to greet him as cameras captured every step of his first moments as a 49er. Why did he spool as a 49er? Team executives praised his leadership, intensity, and ability to change games single-handedly, and it's clear they believe his presence can push San Francisco over the top. For a defense that already boasts talents like Fred Warner and Nick Bosa, the addition of Garrett feels almost unfair. But for the 49ers, who came heartbreakingly close to a Super Bowl win last season, this move is about more than just adding talent. It's about making a statement. The message is clear. The time to win is now. With his arrival turning into a party, it's evident that both the team and the fan base are ready to embrace Garrett as one of their own. And if this welcome is any indication, the 49ers are not just aiming to compete. They're aiming to dominate. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the San Francisco 49ers, make sure to subscribe to 49ers Zone and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.